Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, April the 7th, 2025. This is a very important week where everything is being revised, resetted, and refocusing. And that's because decision-making communication Mercury that's been retrograde is going direct on Monday the 7th. And social creative Venus has been retrograde every year and a half from March the 1st and on the 12th, on Saturday during the full moon, Venus is going direct. These personal planets are having us rethink, revise, and reset our goals, our directions. And the full moon on Saturday is bringing it all to light, a time of culmination. So let's start with Monday, the 7th. So Mercury going direct. It's at a standstill. If you look through a telescope, even though it's supposedly now going direct, it doesn't look like it's moving at all yet. So it takes up to 2 weeks, called the shadow period, for the Mercury to get back to its regular speed. Think of Mercury as your mind, your mental faculties, and when it's at a standstill, the positive is all this intense concentration and focus and research and studying. But everyday conversations, maybe everything is too intense to really have this clarity. So it's going to take up to 2 weeks for Mercury to get back to its regular speed, or your mental faculties to stop being so sluggish and have more clarity. Now, Venus, that planet of relationships, is going to be aligned once a year with responsible, limiting, contracting Saturn, especially the first half of the day, Pacific time. That could be where relationships are being tested, finances are being reevaluated, and with Mercury going direct, you might be doing a lot of thinking about your relationship. And maybe you've been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks, and this is a time that it's time to start making decisions one way or the other. And the last half of the day, as Venus is pulling away from restricted karmic Saturn, now it's in harmony with liberating progressive Uranus. So you're starting the day off with some heavy, serious decisions about money, especially about relationships, but you're ready to shake things up and start moving forwards. So it's a powerful day. Tuesday, the moon in Leo is going to be void of course. In fact, on Monday evening at 8:08 p.m. Pacific time, on Monday, the Leo moon went void of course and remains void of course until Tuesday at 5:40 a.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon goes into Virgo. So when the moon was in Leo, it's all this outgoing, extroverted energies. When it goes void of course, that's when the moon is changing signs, no longer making activity to other planets, so the energy is flat because there's no activity. It's good for resting and reflecting, but you wouldn't want to start anything important new. Now, that moon out of outgoing extroverted Leo, even though you are shifting gears, when it goes into Virgo, 5:40 a.m. Pacific time, the social response with Virgo is more work-oriented, service-oriented, more sensible, more grounded, as opposed to the Leo, which was more outgoing and playful. So after the moon goes into Virgo on Tuesday, there's no other astrological events until Wednesday, with the moon continuing in analytical, practical Virgo. By late afternoon Pacific time, now the moon is squaring or forming this hard push to expansive Jupiter. You got to be careful. Jupiter is this optimistic, beneficial energies, but when the emotional moon, when it could be a lot of the public reactions with Jupiter, with a square to Jupiter, you may be indulging too much, expecting too much, and then what goes up can come down. So moderation is the key. On Thursday, the moon continues in service-oriented, work-oriented Virgo, but it goes void of course at 11:49 a.m. Pacific time to 5:12 p.m., at which point the moon goes into Libra for those next 2.5 days. Now, Virgo, very work-oriented, very practical. When the moon, the public moon, goes into Libra, it's more sociable, it's more cooperative, it's wanting to seek out more cooperation and win-win situations. And right after, by around 6 p.m., Pacific time, as the moon has gone into sociable Libra, it's going to be opposite nebulous Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. So even though Libra is very charming and sociable and creative, when it opposes Neptune, opposing is interacting with others. With the Neptune, there could be some misunderstandings, some confusions, but let me say again, whenever there's a moon aspect, it usually lasts only for an hour or two. So on Friday, there aren't any astrological events other than the moon continues in peace-seeking mediator Libra, sociable, playful Libra. Saturday is a big deal because Venus is now going direct. And it takes time because it's going to be very sluggish. With Venus, you're starting to want to make decisions about any creative projects. That's Venus. Or your friendships, or your personal relationships. And now you might have been soul searching and reflecting on it the past 6 weeks that Venus was in retrograde once every 18 months, and now it's time to make decisions. Instead of Venus waiting for a couple of weeks to get Venus to get up to its regular speed, a lot is happening on Saturday with relationships starting to make decisions because there's a full moon in Libra. Once a month, we have a full moon. A full moon brings a lot of things to light. It can bring a lot of culmination to a lot of closure. And in general, all full moons will test relationships. And here's Venus, the planet of relationships, has been retrograde and ready to start moving forwards on the day of the full moon. So whatever you've been focusing on, worried about, contemplating with relationship, it's all starting to reveal itself to you what you need to do about your creative projects, but especially about your social life and a personal relationship. Now, with Venus still moving very slowly, you may not act right away, but it's starting to become more clear to you on Saturday with the full moon in Libra of what the next step is, what decisions you're going to make romantically, creatively. On Sunday, now the moon leaves Libra, which is very sociable, and goes into Scorpio, which is very private and introspective. The moon goes into Scorpio 5:55 a.m. Pacific time. By early afternoon, the moon in Scorpio will be squaring or a hard angle to transformational compulsive Pluto. So early afternoon Pacific time, but for just an hour or two, that moon Pluto can trigger a lot of emotional intensities, power struggles, or struggling with letting go of any kind of attachments that no longer serve you. In summary, you've got Mercury going direct finally on Monday. On Saturday, Venus is going direct along with the full moon. So this is a week when everything wants to start resetting to get us back to where, back on our path. But all the retrogrades was a good time to reset, rethink, reevaluate, so you would have more clarity in the coming weeks and months. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.